is a chance for Daniel Dubois to go down in British sporting folklore and to go and do the business, reverse that result.
Frank Warren is selling the dream. Daniel Dubois, the next great British heavyweight, reborn and reloaded for a shot at redemption. He frames this as a fairy tale, a hero's return from the brutal shadows of his defeat to Oleksandr Usyk. According to Warren, this is more than a comeback. It's a destiny moment, the ignition of immortality. But beneath the glittering narrative lies a harsher truth. Usyk isn't just a memory. He's still here.
I feel he knows, and he's grown in confidence since that. I mean, he's in a great place, Dubois, and he can win that fight. He's a big natural heavyweight.
Still sharp, still undefeated, and he's not interested in playing a role in someone else's redemption story. He's the architect of reality, and for Dubois, that reality may be destruction all over again. Mark Tibbs has jumped into the spotlight, adding fuel to the hype engine. He sees Dubois as a re-engineered monster, one with Tyson-like aggression, polished maturity, and a sharpened will to win. Tibbs insists this isn't the same fighter who crumbled under Usyk's pressure. Now, he says, Dubois...
He's a good fighter. He's a hard fighter to beat. And I think he'll learn from the mistakes he made in the first fight against Usyk, and it will give him a hard fight. Look, he has the tools to win that fight.
Is focused, dangerous, and ready to dethrone the king. But hype doesn't conquer ring IQ. Usyk's brilliance lies in his strategy, his ability to neutralize power, break rhythm, and dominate fights without ever needing to brawl. While Tibbs leans on size and emotion, Usyk's been slaying giants with footwork and timing for years. You don't bulldoze your way through a master chess player, and Usyk is a grandmaster of the ring. Amir Khan is among the loudest believers, calling Dubois reborn and starved for redemption. He paints
a different machine.
Self-confidence will be...
And time waits for no man, as the saying goes. I just think that this is a fight it's exciting. It's a good fight. You've got to make Usyk the favourite, but it's a fight that Daniel Dubois can definitely win.
Paints the Brit as a beast lurking in the shadows, ready to explode. But while Khan projects confidence, Usyk's silence is the real danger. The Ukrainian doesn't sell fights with words. He dismantles opponents with angles and intelligence. Power means nothing when it's chasing shadows, and Dubois, no matter how refined, still lacks the mental sharpness required to deal with a cerebral assassin like Usyk. As boxing analyst Miles Atuma pointed out, this isn't a comeback, it's a setup. Usyk's ring IQ isn't just a strength, it's a weapon, and under the brightest lights, it will expose every soft spot Dubois still carries. Even
Usyk, in your opinion, can't cope with that?
No one can. No one can. No one can. We'll bring our game. Like I said, Daniel has now spent, by the time this fight comes around, he would have spent 2 years, exactly 2 years with this current team.
Frock, always ready to stir excitement, is throwing heavy praise Dubois' way. He talks about transformation, about hunger and danger, and the threat Dubois could pose. But read between the lines, and you'll hear the doubt. Frock sells the rebirth, but he can't escape the shadow Usyk casts. He knows this isn't a war between equals. Dubois might have improved, but Usyk has evolved. He's not just experienced, he's elite. Frock's endorsement feels like hedging, like laying the groundwork for post-fight damage control. The truth is simple. Dubois isn't entering a title bout. He's walking into Usyk's psychological torture chamber. Don Charles, Dubois' coach, radiates conviction. He declares that Usyk won't survive the incoming firestorm.
Usyk is a class act, a mature individual because he's older and wiser, comes from a completely different background. But Daniel Dubois is growing into himself. This will be one hell of a fight. This will be a proper fight, like all of the Usyk fights have been.
Charles insists Dubois has undergone a complete transformation over the past 2 years. Smarter, nastier, battle-hardened. But Usyk has seen and beaten power before. He's outclassed the biggest punchers in the division. While Dubois charges forward, Charles says, Usyk waits calmly, ready to dissect with composure and precision. This is the edge. While one fighter relies on fury, the other is guided by flawless timing. The question isn't whether Dubois has improved, it's whether Usyk will even need to hit second gear. Simon Jordan, never short of bold takes.
On Daniel Dubois against Oleksandr Usyk, realistically, has he got any chance? We've got 30 seconds.
Of course he has. Look, it's a tough ask, of course. You know, the thing with Usyk is he doesn't depend on his power to knock you out. He depends on his skill. That's why it's a tough ask, because he's going to box rings around you if you let him. Dubois, good luck. Don Charles, good luck. Great British boxing, good luck. We potentially might have a heavyweight championship back on our soil.
Calls this clash a possible defining moment in heavyweight boxing history. He praises Usyk's towering resume, a former undisputed cruiserweight champion and unified heavyweight king, and yet shifts the spotlight to Dubois. Jordan claims Dubois is sharper, tougher, and truly hungry for greatness. He frames this bout as more than a title defense. It's a crossroads moment for the sport. If Dubois delivers, he doesn't just win a belt, he reshapes the heavyweight landscape. The stakes aren't just high, they're seismic. It's youth versus genius, pressure versus poise, chaos versus calculation.
Some people are talented, some people are dedicated to the sport, they're not consistent. Or I think the biggest factor is they're not confident in themselves, or they just ain't mentally prepared to be a boxer.
Anthony Joshua, who knows both men well, offers a balanced but cautious take. He acknowledges that boxing always has room for surprise. Any man can win on any night. But he stresses one truth. Usyk is different. He's not just a technical fighter, he's a problem solver, a tactician who adjusts on the fly. Joshua respects Dubois' power and coach Don Charles's belief, but warns that this level of opposition is uncharted territory. If Dubois isn't mentally prepared for Usyk's style, the fight could become overwhelming and fast. Even Alexander Krasyuk, Usyk's promoter, made things crystal clear. With calm assurance, he said, Usyk is ready to show Dubois what true greatness looks like. The gap between belief and reality.
Especially in Usyk press conference, he's not going to start flipping tables and kicking off and this, that and the other. He's going to play a few little games and mind games and that. But aside from that, pretty chill and relaxed.
Reality is vast, and Usyk intends to remind the world that raw strength is no match for refined skill. In the end, all the hype, belief, and transformation can't change one truth. Oleksandr Usyk is still the king, and Daniel Dubois is walking into the lion's den. Ma Satuma isn't pulling punches. He storms into the conversation with a ruthless reality check, tearing down the smoke and mirrors surrounding both Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois. According to Satuma, the boxing world has been duped by illusion. He labels Usyk nothing more than a slick trickster. Flashy footwork, clever angles, and quick hands.
I think Daniel Dubois, he's on a roll. He's coming off of a massive win against AJ. Usyk's also on a massive roll. So I think that fight's going to come down to mindset.
Asking what he believes is a lack of true grit and warrior spirit. In Satuma's eyes, Usyk isn't a fighter forged in fire. He's a performer, choreographed and controlled, avoiding the brutal, soul-draining exchanges that define the elite heavyweight experience. But he doesn't stop there. Satuma takes the flamethrower to Dubois too, slamming the Brit's reputation as hollow hype. Dubois' raw punching power, he argues, is a smokescreen covering up a fragile mentality and weak ring IQ. It's smoke and mirrors on both ends. In Satuma's cold analysis, neither man is cut.
Daniel's a heavy puncher. Both hands carries dynamite. It's just going to be a case of picking his moments, believing in his work, and there are 3 or 4 fundamental things that he must do, and if he does them, he'll have success.
Out for the true top tier of heavyweight warfare. Usyk's technical skills are overstated, and Dubois' brute force can't compete with real boxing intellect. To Satuma, both are destined to shatter under the pressure when it truly counts. Overhyped pretenders, polished for cameras but unprepared for combat. Meanwhile, Fabio Wardley offers a much different take, especially on Usyk. He praises the Ukrainian maestro for what he believes is Usyk's most underrated weapon, his composure. Under fire, under pressure, in enemy territory, Usyk doesn't flinch. There's no panic, no reckless response. Wardley points out that Usyk's cool head is exact
problem. Oleksandr Usyk is the best fighter in boxing, period. Of this generation, what he's done at cruiserweight, what he's done at heavyweight, what he's done to all the other British fighters, to do the double over AJ, the double over...
What elevates him above the pack. While others unravel in the chaos of a heavyweight slugfest, Usyk thrives. His ability to control the atmosphere, both mentally and physically, makes him a lethal technician in a division dominated by wild swings and emotional eruptions. Wardley believes this serenity will be the deciding factor, because when the fire starts, Usyk doesn't just survive it. He engineers it. Chris Eubank Jr. brings a balanced view, leaning in Dubois' favor but acknowledging the intensity of the challenge ahead. Riding the wave of Dubois' emphatic victory over Anthony Joshua, Eubank calls him unstoppable. But there's a twist. Usyk's unbeaten streak remains untouched. Both men...
the trainer says to the other fighter and says, you're a cheat and you're not a God-fearing man and you're a liar. And, I think this is just, absolutely insane.
Are surging with confidence, making this bout less about physicality and more about psychology. Eubank insists that mindset will be the key. Who can stay locked in, composed, and focused when the spotlight is at its brightest? The clash is about more than just power or skill. It's about which fighter can carry that confidence through fire without getting burned. George Fox, like many in Dubois' corner, hypes up his knockout power as the ultimate equalizer. Fox believes Dubois can end any fight in an instant, and Usyk is no exception. But this optimism meets a cold wall when examined through the lens of Usyk's experience. The Ukrainian has dismantled larger, stronger men before. He isn't fazed by punchers. He decodes them. While Fox praises Dubois' timing and improved discipline, the reality remains. Usyk is a master of capitalizing on mistakes. Strategy, finesse, and footwork are where this fight will be decided, and Usyk owns that space. Adam Smith, one of boxing's most respected voices, calls Usyk the pinnacle of modern boxing brilliance. From conquering the cruiserweight division to dethroning giants in the heavyweight ranks, Usyk's resume speaks for itself. Back-to-back wins over elite British names, including Anthony Joshua, have solidified his legend. Smith raises the stakes even further. If Usyk beats Tyson Fury, it will make him the undisputed king of this era. Usyk's strength isn't just physical, it's psychological. He breaks opponents down methodically with a surgeon's touch and a tactician's mind. Duke McKenzie echoes that sentiment, declaring Usyk a walking rewrite of boxing history. No other fighter, past or present, carries such technical excellence and dominance across weight classes. But not everyone's keeping it professional. Russ Anber, one of the sport's most respected cutmen and trainers, lit into Don Charles after a fiery press conference that spiraled into chaos. Charles threw wild accusations at Usyk, calling him a cheat, a liar, and more. But Anber wasn't having it. He called the meltdown a desperate cry from a camp already crumbling under pressure. Instead of laying out a game plan, Dubois' team was throwing tantrums, signaling that the mental war is already lost. Anber sees it as a surrender before the first punch is thrown, a psychological white flag. With his usual bluntness, he declared, "You don't win fights screaming across podiums. You win them with plans, precision, and preparation." So here's the million-dollar question. Can Daniel Dubois truly rise above the noise and deliver against one of boxing's smartest tacticians? Or will Oleksandr Usyk once again prove that brains beat brawn, that calm cuts through chaos, and that technique always outlasts hype?